Hi everyone, this quick video will cover the argument essay modules. I got a little behind on making my module video, so I'm trying to catch up here and give you a little bit of an overview on what we're working on. So the argument essay spans 3 modules. You've completed one already, and so now we're into the planning and drafting for the argument essay that will be due in the next module. So let me show you what I'm looking at here. So we just finished module 4, which went over some things like thesis statements and documentation, which were important, will be important just in general. And you guys finished the module 4 readings quiz and then the MLA documentation assignment, which is your first assignment, really asking you to practice those MLA skills. It's important that you go back and look at feedback on this assignment, because if you're doing something wrong, you want to start correcting it now before it starts to really affect your grade as we go through the next few essays. It will become more and more important to get that documentation correct. Now, with documentation, MLA style, really any style, you have to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room for the instructor's preferences. Some instructors are really, really stringent with making sure everything is exact, correct. So comma placement, periods, that sort of thing. And then some are like really, really open. So they don't really care what you do as long as it sort of looks right. I'm kind of in the middle. And so if you're wondering how it's going to be in this class, I want you to do it correctly. I want you to at least look like you're trying to put an effort into it. I don't tend to dock points unless you're just absolutely not trying. And so, if you just hand me a list of URLs, that's not a works cited page. You're going to lose a lot of points for that. If all of your citations in your paper, so all the source references, none of them match a source that I can find, then you're going to lose a lot of points for that. So just make sure that you are making an attempt to get it looking correct. And so we're not all over the place. Use your handbook. There's lots of examples in the handbook. There's really not an excuse for it to look terrible. So just kind of keep that in mind. So once we're done with that, now we're into the argument, the start of the argument essay that we're working on. So at this point in module 5, you are starting to plan your argument essay. We've got one discussion board here, which is, I don't think we've done a discussion board in a while. The discussion board for this one is you're going to be looking for websites about articles on the purpose of higher education, the cost of higher education, that kind of thing, related to the argument essay. These do not need to be sources that you would actually use in your paper, but it's kind of useful because you're really doing a little bit of research, not a lot for this essay, but you're kind of looking around to see what's out there. And so I would kind of pick sources that you feel are useful to you. That way it's meaningful for you. But your original posts need to be of the source that you're putting on the discussion board, and then you're going to just follow the directions here as to how much what it's going to look like, what your post will look like. So you have a bulleted list of 10 important points, and then your explanation, and then you respond to 3 classmates. So you're going to post 3 websites, you respond to 3 classmates. Make sure that you're not posting sources that other students are using. So there's an example down here of what your original post should look like. You can kind of follow that to help you out. I've linked the argument essay criteria again and again. This essay, so the purpose of this essay is to give us a true argument. The previous essay was a critical response, or practicing the critical reading, critical thinking. This essay is just for the sake of doing an argument, because that's an important component of academic writing, and a lot of college classes will ask you to do some form of argumentation in their classes. So whether that's in essay form or other form, you will be working with argument a lot, particularly ones that have multiple sides, multiple viewpoints, because that is one of the best ways to really challenge those critical thinking skills, is to think about things from other points of view. So the purpose of doing this is we're following along in the textbook. The textbook talks about the 4-pillar argument method. So it's a little different from what you might have done in a Comp 1 class. If you did an argument paper in your Comp 1 class, this one is asking for the 4-pillar method. And the 4 pillars are your thesis, your evidence, a refutation to an opposing viewpoint. So the refutation part is the most important, and then the concluding statement. So all of that's in the chapter that you're going to read. And then as far as the essay is concerned, it's about 5-paragraph essay. So typically it's, introduction paragraph, and then students kind of have 2 paragraphs of direct support for their thesis, and then the third body paragraph addresses an opposing viewpoint. So we're only looking at 5 paragraphs. It's not a very long essay. You can see the length is only 2 to 4 pages. I'm only asking you to use 2 sources. So really, don't be thinking this is a huge research project. This is supposed to be fairly short and concise, so you want to make sure your argument is pretty focused for your essay. You only need to have 2 sources. One of those has to come from the practical argument textbook. You can use more than 2 sources if you want to, but you don't need to go much beyond that. You can use outside sources or sources beyond the textbook if you want to, but again, it's not supposed to be a research paper, so I'm not expecting you to go out and do a whole lot of research. So I would limit yourself, 5 sources at the most or something. Otherwise, you're doing too much work. You'll have your works cited page. You do have to have at least 1 quote and 1 paraphrase because we are practicing those skills. You put them in the documentation assignment. I will correct issues that you have. So then for this one, this essay, we're really putting it into practice. How do you put that in an essay? It's your chance to make sure that you're correcting issues before we get to the research paper where that will be most important. You can use first-person experience in this essay as well. I am asking you to make sure that you do rely on your sources as well, but some first-person experience is perfectly appropriate. I know some of you probably have had a lot of experience in college, may have gone to multiple colleges, may have changed your major several times, and so, but some of you may just be starting out. I don't know. So that, depending on where you're at, you may have some experience that you want to include. So that's the essay assignment. And then once you have looked that over, you'll do the journal. And the journal is intended to pre-write. So we're planning your argument essay. You're not writing it yet. We start with a free write and give some ideas. Then you do a brainstorm or a cluster map to focus your ideas. And then you have an informal outline and then a working thesis. So once you have submitted this, after the end of this module, I will be going in through the journal and providing feedback for you for the different entries and whether or not you're doing okay if there's any issues. Now, a journal in this class is set up like a personal discussion board. It's kind of weird. Canvas does not have a journal tool, and so we use a personal discussion board. And so basically you're just going to do each entry. So you'll just, click reply and then entry 1, and then do your brainstorm there, and then you'll post it. And then you'll do another reply, and you'll do entry. Get mad at me here. And then you do entry 2, and then you'll post your reply. So you'll end up with that didn't even post it correctly. So you'll end up with your entries going down, but you'll be the only person posting on the discussion board, so you won't be interacting with your peers with that. So it's just, I think this may be the first time we've done a journal in this class. So those are the 2 assignments for, so they both look like discussion boards for this module. And then in module 6, the only assignment is to submit that argument essay. I do have some stuff for you to help you out, and there's this video for how to write an argument essay using the 4-pillar method if you need help with that. And then there's a couple of sample essays as well. These sample essays are not the same assignment that you have. It's a similar assignment. It's about the purpose of college as opposed to you have some other options for yours, but they just give you an example of what argument essays look like. And then this is the spot where you turn in your argument essay. So that's not until the end of the next module. So you still have a little while before you turn in the final draft. We are not doing a peer edit for this one. So make sure that, if you need help, you're using the online writing lab, you're using your peers, your friends, your family members to help look over your work for you. You can send me a draft if you're struggling. But we want to make sure that you're successful with this essay, being the second essay for the class, and then the first bigger essay. It is worth more points than the previous one. So just kind of keep that in mind. We're working on that through the next 2 modules. We'll be working on the argument essay. So hopefully you guys are doing okay. If you have questions, of course, always reach out to me through email, text me, call me, something like that. And happy